All right, let's talk about why AI content creation sucks, or more importantly, why it doesn't have to suck. My name's Corey, one of the co-creators of ContentFold, and our mission is to actually take content you've created in the form of YouTube videos or podcasts and create other forms of content with it, using AI to help assist us in that effort. Now, since we started doing this, and you can see in our previous videos, we have struggled with the limitations of AI when it comes to creating content. And by that, I mean, AI is actually pretty good at creating content. It's just not very good at creating good content, human readable content that engages somebody and makes them actually want to consume that content. We are on a mission to correct that. And then once we get that down, our goal is to help you take your content that you're already creating and be in other places with it in different forms. So if we could take your YouTube video, turn it into a very decent, readable, engaging blog post, turn it into a great Facebook post, turn it into a Twitter feed post, all these different kinds of content, including like Pinterest pins. If we could figure out what each platform wants and then figure out how to build the content that's actually engaging and works on those platforms, then it's going to be a winning product. We're very close. We are creating the content for all those platforms now, but we think it could be better. We still think by reading the content or looking at the content it's creating that you can kind of spot and say, okay, that was AI. We don't want anyone to ever look at the content and say it was AI. Our main goal is to build a creator voice, look at your videos, look at your podcasts, kind of build a profile that fits you so that when it's creating content, it feels very much like you are creating it. Nobody should be able to tell the difference. So that's our goal. That's what we're trying to do here. We've talked about other hurdles in the past with using AI to create content. This week, we kind of stumbled onto a realization. I mean, we didn't reinvent the wheel here. We didn't make this up, but we kind of stumbled onto a realization that asking AI to take a video and create a long form blog post out of that. We're focusing heavily on the blogs right now because if we get that right, everything else I think we can fine tune much quicker. But asking AI to take a long form piece of content and create a blog post, while it will do that, it does it very poorly, and trying to figure out why has been our mission here for a little bit. Now, I think we mentioned in one of our previous videos that the creator voice was a big part of that, and it was, and it definitely changed our content for the better. But more importantly, I think what we discovered this week was that when it looks at a YouTube video or a podcast and tries to make a blog post out of that, the instructions we're giving it and the criteria we're giving it to do that are pretty kind of Wild West. We really weren't, yeah, that's the right word. We really weren't giving it enough direction. And by that, I mean, there's a bunch of different types of blog post. It could be a Q&A blog post. It could be a comparison blog post. It could be a listicle. It could be a deep dive into a topic. There's so many different types of blog posts that are written differently and they're formatted differently in order to make them engaging and readable for an actual person, not AI. And our goal isn't to be read by AI. Our goal is to get your content read by people who are readers, like real, actual people, and still be indexable and findable and usable by AI and search engines. So one of the major updates we did this week inside of ContentFold on the admin side is we built out a framework and a structure where we could add different types of blog posts as, not as templates, but as guidelines. We could say a list post generally looks like this. This is kind of the criteria that would make a list post as opposed to a comparison post or a deep dive post into a certain topics. And if we can define those different types of blog posts and kind of stage them out, so this is how it's formatted if it's in this type of post, these are the criteria that would determine it is this kind of post, things like that, then when we're talking to the different AIs in our background and we're passing the information of the video and the user voice and the profiles into that AI to say build a blog post, now we can say what is the best type of blog post this content would make. How do we make it the most digestible, the most engaging, the most readable to an actual person? And by deciding that and making that decision, we were able to kind of level up our blog posts in a big way. It really kind of changes the game. Now, we don't have all the different types of blog posts that could be created. There's probably hundreds of them if we're being honest, but we have kind of a core 8 right now. And within the admin system, it allows us to build on that. If we identify a new type of post, then we can quickly build out a template and a framing for it to where when it goes through and says, okay, I have your video, I have your podcast, look through all these different types of posts that we can make, which one would be the best, which one would be the most engaging. Then it can actually form your content into the correct type of blog post. So it's a huge leap for us in the blog post side. Now we're going to do something very similar on the social media side for Facebook, for Twitter, for Pinterest, for all those. We're just stepping through this one piece at a time. We think the blog post right now is kind of our main focus because we got to get that right. That's the longest form, most complex piece of content we're creating. And it's also the one where I believe a discerning user can read it or even scan it and say very quickly, this is either AI or not AI. And we want to get that to where you can't do that. We want it to be human readable. We want it to be in your voice. And if we can get that right, like I said, I think we can get the rest of them right much quicker. So that's the big change this week in ContentFold. The way we're processing content now has an extra layer to it, an extra decision. But I think that decision has really leveled up the quality of the output. So that's kind of where we're at. I think you can guide AI to make really good, engaging, human readable content, but you do have to give it as much direction as you can. You can't just say, take this video, make a blog post. It actually turns out pretty terrible. And I think this extra layer in there really has helped. So that's where we're at. You guys let us know what you think of that. And I'm sure we're not done. We'll be constantly improving these pieces of ContentFold, but I do think our content in terms of the blog side is getting better and better, and everything else will follow suit as we go. So I think that's it for today. We will see you guys next time.